Hey, welcome to Old School. Cenk Uygur, Mark Thompson, and Dave Kohler with you guys. Old School brought to you by shoptyt.com, where we've got these new shirts. You know we have one when I'm about to stand up. Okay, there it is. That's a Kasparian shirt. Okay. So she did a rant that some rando on TikTok took and put up on religion. And it's so far at 18.4 million views. So we made a shirt out of it.
Let me guess, she's for religion? No?
That is an incorrect guess. So basically, well, here it is. It says, you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. That seems fair enough, right? Yeah. Okay, apparently 18 million people thought it was fair enough. Okay, so you can check that out at shoptyt.com. Of course.
What would I have to do to get 18 million views on a TikTok? I think, I can't get there from here. I feel Anna's got that thing, I don't have that.
Mark, nobody knows what that thing is, and everyone is fairly certain you have it. And it's not like, we've been doing this for about 20 years. And if anyone knows how to get hits online, it's us. Did we know we were gonna get 18 million on that? We didn't even put it up. No, we had no idea. Okay, wow. So you do things that hopefully resonate. And then if the audience likes it, they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. Okay.
Yeah, I started using TikTok about a week ago, but I haven't run into that video. I'm gonna have to go find it.
Well, Dave, you'll like this even more, and then it'll lead to some of our conversations. And it's gonna be a lot of football talk, not about the sport itself today, but about the cultural issues surrounding it. John Gruden just resigned. I went to a Chargers game over the weekend. There was tons of fun cultural stuff around that. But in terms of this shirt, damn it, I forgot what I was gonna say. Man, today's been a hell of a day. Anyways, I'll come back and remember what the point I wanted to make about Dave. But for this shirt,
Dave was saying he just got TikTok, and that's if that helps you at all. I just got TikTok. I've only had it a couple of weeks. I didn't see it. That doesn't help.
Oh yeah, I remember now. Thank you, Mark. Right. So Dave, you would have liked this part because there was this incredibly interesting, strange phenomenon where that clip would get hot in different countries in a row, like at different times. So first it got hot in America, and you could see the numbers of like, oh my God, a lot of people are watching it in America. Then it got hot in Brazil. Then it got hot in Mexico. And it jumped around country to country where different countries would go, yeah, wait a minute. Why does your religion, whatever it is, get to control my life? And it just kept rolling, but it was kind of country specific for a while. And that was trippy. And there's so many things I love about the internet. There's obviously a lot of things people are upset about lately, right? But it's kind of cool that there's like these phenomenons out there, including when people go, yeah, how come nobody says that? I don't want religion controlling my life. I don't want my own religion controlling my life, let alone your religion. And so,
other than the part that it's really cool, it sounds like you just described how COVID worked. First it popped up here, then it popped up there, then it popped up there.
Well, but Dave, actually, that is a good analogy because that's a virus, and it goes viral, and so do things online. They go viral. That's why we call it viral, and it works in a similar way. All of a sudden, it's spreading because people are talking about it in Mexico, and they're telling their friends, and they're sending it to their friends, more likely in Mexico, and so that's why it's working the way that it does. But what I wanted to ask, fun question I wanted to ask about the shirt is, so for anyone else, it makes perfect sense. It's a cool thing to say. It's got Anna's face on it, but like with the black and white thing, it's neat, right? But I know Anna, so is it weird to wear her face on my shirt, on a shirt? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I give it a pass. You're wearing famous Anna on your shirt, not Anna that you know on your shirt.
Okay, that's an interesting distinction.
That's the distinction, though. But well done, I would say on that. Yeah.
So, I mean, look. So I was wearing Rashad on my shirt just 2 days ago because the indisputable shirts are out, but I have to say, both with the Rashad shirt and the Anna shirt, I hesitated. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, but it's kind of funny, right? Because we know each other. And another shirt I hesitated was we long time ago had this Star Wars shirt, and Anna and I were on it. And I'm like, it feels weird to wear my own face on here. So let me kick it to you guys. Would you and have you worn a shirt with my face on?
I think I have. And my favorite shirt is still, I think it's a sweatshirt, is a Very Stable Genius. And I told you, every time I wear it, I think it's the most, the clearest reference, most obvious reference, most memorable reference you could have. Yet, I literally have seen a couple of times people look at me like that's what I think I am. You know what I mean? A very stable genius. So I'm thinking, no, dude, is there really, there's no connect. So I have, most of my stuff just says TYT. I have a Bernie shirt. I'm trying to think of all my TYT merch. I don't think I have anything with your face on it, actually. No, I don't. I think the thing I have has Bernie's face on it.
Would you wear my face on your?
Oh my God! Right now, run it to the house right now, brother. I'll wear it. I'll sleep in it tonight.
Dave, you've known me for approximately 43 years. Would you?
Well, I would. Generally, I prefer T-shirts that have words or symbols or logos, not pictures, graphics. So I wouldn't generally wear one with a face, but it's not because it's your face. I wouldn't wear one with Derek Jeter's face on it either. I wouldn't wear any. It's not my thing.
Okay, it's a interesting person to pick. But so okay, got you.
There's no carve out for Jake.
Yeah. Well, look, what I like though is that now all of a sudden I'm thinking, I kind of want a Dave Kohler shirt. I want to wear Dave Kohler around.
Our graphics department can make one. There's a couple of memes that fly around.
Gotta put that quote up though, where in Vietnam, what was it? What was your? That's still the best.
Yeah.
In Vietnam, there was bombs dropping everywhere. They were able to get the satellite signal, but we can't get a Skype from here to a downtown. Whatever you said, Dave, was so funny.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Dave's got those lines all day, all night. And by the way, of course, we had trouble getting on tonight. And so the more things change, the more they stay the same. It is what it is. Anyways, I'm gonna read a couple of quotes here, comments here, and then I'm gonna move on to the second topic. I feel like I must be hungry. I guess I am. I had a little snack, but that means I'm gonna forget 17 things as we go. Anyway, Timur the 905 Dragon wrote in, TYT old school, perfect way to round off Canadian Thanksgiving. Or should I say real Thanksgiving? Oh, come on, Timur, I love you, brother, but let it go. Okay. There ain't no real Canadian Thanksgiving. You guys really do it? Do you really do Thanksgiving now? Even you don't believe that. Admit that you wait for our Thanksgiving and do it then. Not a big deal, okay? Senator Jingles wrote in, my first show, stoked. All right, Senator Jingles, good to have you here.
Senator Jingles, very strong handle, by the way.
Totally, I would wear a shirt with Senator Jingles on it for sure.
Yes.
Okay, and I think this was left over from the May show, but Late Bloomer gifted 5 subs, so I'm appreciating him anyway. And he said, I gift these subs because I honestly believe TYT is the answer. I like that. That makes us Allen Iverson. We're the answer. And Doc Walk. Why do I keep doing that? Doc Wagon Dragon gifted 10 subs, so you're awesome. All right, so I went to the Chargers game. So here's how it broke down. I wanted to get Pro a birthday gift, and I wanted to have it be special. I know he wants to go to football games. He had this great idea. He's my son. He's 11 years old. This great idea to go to all the every playoff weekend to go to a different city and watch the playoffs there. And I said, that's a great idea for when I have money. But right now, that ain't gonna happen. Okay, but it's good thinking. It's good thinking. It's like a good fantasy to have. We get rich and we do that plan, and I love that plan. It gives me another reason to work harder. Okay, if I needed any. But in the meantime, he's like, all right, how about a home game? How about here, right? No travel costs. Can we try that? I'm like, ah. And then finally I decided, okay, I'm gonna go for it. Even though tickets are expensive. And then by the time you go and you get in LA, JR asked me, I didn't remember at the time during the show, but now I remember, we got 2 sets of hot dogs. And the second set of hot dogs got a chili dog, a normal hot dog, 2 waters, a Coke, and some banana chips. And it was over $60. Okay, that is a lot of money for hot dogs. Okay, and then you got the parking was sold out. I didn't realize that could be a thing, and so we had to take Ubers, which is fine, but that costs a whole heap of money. But so by the time you're done, I mean, you're hurt, dog. Don't ask if you're all right. So. But anyway, I wanted to splurge on this because it's a good idea, and I'd love to go with my son, and he's so into football, and I love it, right? So okay, fine. We get and then it turns out the Steelers are playing the Chargers this year, and I love the Steelers. Everybody knows that. Perfect. We're gonna go to the Steelers Chargers game. It's gonna be great. But then it turned out that him and my wife and the other folks, while I'm working, are going on vacation that weekend. So we had to switch it, and I was like, he likes the Browns. What am I gonna do? We'll go Chargers Browns, okay? And so we went this weekend. Now,
wow, I mean, that was probably one of the greatest games you could ever see. No.
I mean, like just the smallest note on the sports angle of it here. Man, did we accidentally get lucky?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I say that, you don't have to follow sports at all, but it's just. One team scores a touchdown, other team scores a touchdown. One team, and they're exciting touchdowns. Like they're long passes and stuff. So it's a really great game to bring your son to. I would think that just, as you say, you got lucky, but wow. Yeah, really.
100%. It was 47-42. They nearly scored 100 points. It was unbelievable. And they kept soaring back and forth. And probably Pro thinks, man, we got to go every weekend. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So, okay, now other things I wanted to actually discuss. So that's your background. We're taking an Uber out of the stadium. And the driver is kind of young. He wants to connect with us. He's obviously a good guy, means well, he's talkative, and he's trying to relate. All of these things are super positive, right? But he doesn't know much about sports, but he's trying anyway. So he's like, oh yeah, man, we got a lot of teams here in LA. So it's always busy by the stadium. The traffic, it's just brutal. You got the Rams, the Chargers now, you got the San Diego 49ers, you got the Oakland Raiders. I'm like, oh no. Like, please stop talking. I love you, shh, right? And he's like, yeah, of course I don't say that to him. Like, oh yeah, sure. I'm not gonna bother correcting him, it's awkward, there's no point. And he's like, I'll tell you, that Brady, he's tough to stop. I'm like, don't do it. And he's like, that Gronkowski, they once they're two together, it's over. That's why, that Kukowski is like a steamroller. I'm like, there's no Kukowski, it's Gronkowski, and that's not it. And but my point is, like he's a good guy. He's trying to do the right thing. But just pick a different topic. We don't all have to relate on every topic. If you don't know sports, you don't have to tell us about Kukowski.
Yeah, you should have stuck to the traffic. That's a winner.
Yeah, 100%. And then, by the way, he's talking about all this. Oh my God, it's all like this at the stadium all the time because of all this, those teams we have. And I'm like, oh, cool. Way later in the conversation, I'm like, so how long have you been driving for Uber? He's like, a month. I'm like, how many times could you have been at the stadium? You've only been driving.
That's very funny. I think the pro tip there is when you're trying to make conversation about something you don't know anything about, particularly when you're picking people up from a stadium or something like that, you go, so tell me about the game. How was it? And boom, then it's on them. Let them do the color commentary on the game.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
That is a good pro tip. And then drop a $500 chip and then concoct a gigantic story around it. Another pro tip, but that's from an old episode.
Yeah.
So, all right, now more stories. So we're going to Chargers Browns. So of course, what jersey do I wear? I wear a Steelers jersey. One, because that's the only jersey I have, and two, let's be honest, to troll the Browns fans. And so
you don't wear any TYT stuff at a big venue like that?
No, I had a TYT shirt underneath, but I much preferred trolling the Browns fans.
Okay.
And so so folks don't know this, and there's no reason why you would if you live outside of LA, and certainly if you don't care about sports. But the Chargers moved from San Diego to LA. It feels like a minute ago, but I guess it was probably 2 years by now ago. And so there are no Chargers fans in LA. Or there certainly weren't, and now in fact, there was one guy who was like talking up a big game about how, oh my God, we gotta play defense, and he's screaming defense the whole game. You know those guys, like, and he has a South African accent. I'm so discombobulated by everything that's going on. And he's like, "Come on, mate, defense, right?" And then like halfway through the game, he turns to his buddy and he's like, after this game, I think I'm going to become a Chargers fan instead of a Rams fan. I'm like, you've been screaming the whole game. I thought you were a Chargers fan. So that's how new Chargers are to LA. So in the Raiders game that happened last week, there about 75% of the crowd was Raiders fans because the Raiders used to play in LA. And so now I tell you all that because even with a rando team like the Browns, like the Raiders have an LA history, right? Cleveland does not have an LA history by definition. Still, like a third to 40% of the crowd was Browns fans. And I knew it was gonna happen like that because there aren't that many Chargers fans.
Well, also that's right on the numbers. Yeah, the third part is because there are not that many Chargers fans. But man, that Cleveland Browns and Cleveland generally, but particularly the Browns, that fan base is animated. I mean, they are everywhere and they show up. It's the long-suffering Clevelanders. They'll and even those who are not from Cleveland. There's something about the Browns that does attract a sort of a fan base. But you're right. The reason they're super noticeable is because the Chargers have yet to get momentum in Los Angeles. That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of it. Yeah, they're transplants. So they're kind of some people from San Diego, but they're really not. They haven't had any kind of real momentum here yet.
Yeah. So this is going to lead to three different things. First of all, in Turkish, so first of all, Allah means God. It's from Arabic, but Turks use it too, obviously, because they're Muslim. And so there's 100 different ways to use the word Allah in Turkish. And so when you're charging into battle, the Turks used to say Allah, 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 Allah as they charged, right? And there's a joke in Turkey that Turks charge, and then but when you're confused, you go like Allah, 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 right? And so the joke in Turkey is the Turks charge into any issue going Allah, 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 and they come out of that same thing going Allah, Allah, Allah. Okay, and that's exactly what happened with the Browns fans. When they first came in, they're like, Allah, 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 right? And on their way out, they're dejected after they lost this incredible game. And they're like, Allah, Allah.
It was close. It was very close, wasn't it?
It was very close. They went back and forth. That's why they were particularly dejected. But so I'm wearing the Steelers jersey. They're 10 times angrier at me than at any Chargers fan. So that I realized, wait a minute, I went with my 11-year-old son and I forgot I'm wearing a Steelers jersey and there's a stadium full of angry Browns fans, right? So I got a whole heap of Steelers suck ass. I'm like, hey, we got it's.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, that's sports. The confrontations, keeping them onto some kind of limited, polite basis can oftentimes be a very tough lifeguard chair to sit in. Yeah.
Yeah, to be more accurate, I didn't even bother. You guys are right. No. When you go to a stadium, you can't pull, oh, my son is here crap. Then, well, you shouldn't have brought him. And you certainly shouldn't have brought him in his Steelers jersey, knowing that at least 30% of the crowd is going to be Browns fans. But the funny part was there were several people in Steelers jersey. And I'm going on to the bathroom and a guy comes up to me in another Steelers jersey and he's like, yeah, I just came to mess with the Browns fans. So that's how little Chargers fans there are in LA.
Did you guys exchange?
Are going to Steelers fans numbers just to see the Browns lose.
Did you guys exchange contact information, Cenk?
No, we didn't.
Cenk, what's better, Dave? What's better, to lose a game if you're going to lose a game that comes down to the last few seconds or comes down to the last few yards, if it's a running race, whatever the race is, not football or baseball, right at the in extra innings and a slide and a tag that just misses, or is it better to lose in a blowout? It's over right away. You're down by whatever you want to. It's 40-0 by halftime, or it's 11-0 if it's a baseball game, etc. What's better, blowout if you're going to lose, no question about it, or do you want to be in it to the very last second?
So, Mark, I'm going to have to ask an important qualifying question. Am I playing or am I watching?
You're watching. It's your team and it's your heart. It's your emotion.
Okay, then I definitely root for the close game because that means my team's pretty good. Maybe we'll get them next time, and it was at least a thrilling thing to watch. If I was participating, I'd go for the blowout because then I feel like, well, I guess there was nothing I could do. I don't feel bad about it.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm going over every play. I could have done that different. I could have done this different. Was it my fault? That's how my mind thinks.
What do you think, Dave?
A total opposite. If I'm a fan, I've lost track of and I'm not hungry.
Cenk saying, hey, if I'm a fan, then
I want the close one because that means my team is good. Right. Yeah, no, if I'm a fan, those close games that you lose hurt a lot. So I'd rather lose the blowout. If I'm playing, then I do care that my team is going to be good in the next game. So I like the close one. And sure, I'll take the pain now, knowing that I played a close game and it's going to go our way next week.
Interesting. How about you, Mark?
I think I've had a lot of experience with my teams losing. Let me just say, whatever teams I root for, I think it's better emotionally. I love a good sweat, so I love a close game all the way. I mean, that's obviously the best, but I think it's better emotionally if my team gets blown out. I hate to say it, but I just feel it's easier on my emotions. That's all. I can disconnect from the scene. It's probably not more fun, like from the standpoint. That's why I understand what you're saying, Cenk. Like from the standpoint of being a spectator and the fun of being a spectator is always better if something's really close race, close game. But from the standpoint of being so wrapped up in it that my heart's going to be broken in the last few seconds with a loss, I think it's easier just to get blown out right away. It's like, okay, that was awful, and let's just put it behind us, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. No, like for example, Steelers lost 2 Super Bowls. Last thing on the sports angle of it. They lost the Packers on the Mendenhall fumble, which they could have easily won. And like every time I think about it, it drives me crazy. And then they lost to the Cowboys when they had Neil O'Donnell, and everybody knew he was going to throw 3 picks at least, and he did. And it had the semblance of a close game, but it wasn't. And so, no, the Packers game was much better. I prefer the Packers game because we had a shot at winning another Super Bowl. Whereas Neil O'Donnell was never going to win that game. And so, yeah, it was painful seeing him throw the picks, but yeah, that game sucked. You see what I'm saying?
I guess so. Yeah, I do. I mean,
But it does cut both ways. I mean, you guys are right because I keep thinking about the Packers game. I mean, that's super silly. I'm just a fan. What do I care? It happened a million years ago. But I keep thinking if he just hadn't fumbled, we'd have another Super Bowl. And we wouldn't have to hear about it from the goddamn Patriot.
It's funny how the fumbles, the interceptions, the mistakes are the things that we really carry with us. The things that hurt are the things that we really care. And from an evolutionary standpoint, there's a reason we do that, of course, because those things that hurt you are supposed to land in your psyche more cleanly than those things that are beneficial to you. Not that you aren't supposed to remember the latter, but you're supposed to really remember the things that can hurt you, the former. And so it's weird that it does apply to all of these different things, like, the super disappointment associated with, oh my God, he fumbled, or interception. I mean, these are things that stick with you more, I think, than the great catch in the end zone. That's what I've noticed anyway. And it applies across the board. It applies in poker. You remember the big hands that you lost more than the big hands that you won. And as I say, there's a really good evolutionary reason for that.
So, Mark, there's a reason why we talk about it, because it applies to everything. So, my takeaway from that and my response to that is that when I lose in anything, it could be a business deal, it could be, I was going to say debate, but I've never lost one, so I don't know how that feels. But if I lose at anything, I drive myself crazy thinking about all the mistakes and what if I did this, what if I did that, and that'll take me decades to get past, right? But if I win, then all the mistakes are erased. Who cares? I won anyway, right? So I never sweat all the mistakes I made in a game that I won. Is that interesting? Do you guys feel the same way or no?
Well, of course that's true. The winning washes all mistakes away. I mean, that's absolutely right. There's no antidote for mistakes like winning. It just is, hey, no big deal, we got it. It was, don't worry about it, right?
Yeah, of course I feel that way. But sticking with football, which we should get off of. Look, I don't remember the Rashad Mendenhall fumble particularly, but sometimes you fumble because the defensive guy just punched it out and you were holding that ball as tightly as you could. It's a great defensive play. So should you agonize over your running back fumbling? I mean, he got it punched out. He did everything he could. It gets a little confusing.
No, I hate him. But good try. All right, so this was all another prelude to, so I see a couple of guys that are sitting in front of us, and they got San Diego written all over them, like even more specifically La Jolla. Now, for those of you who don't know, La Jolla is where it's the wealthier part of San Diego, and it's where Mitt Romney has like a $20 or $40 million house or whatever it is, and it's where Tucker Carlson grew up. And so the folks from La Jolla stereotypically are the blondest people you've ever met, the whitest people you've ever met, and like look like they're from another time, like that they have not intermingled with the rest of us, and they came straight out of like. I'm like, oh, you look like the people I see in the movies in the 1950s. That's who you look like, right? And so, and not even the 1950s movies were more mixed than the folks I see from that community in San Diego. Okay, so I don't know. I never even confirmed that they were from San Diego, but there's no force on earth that would convince me that they aren't. Okay, so I'm looking at them and I'm seeing that, and now the Chargers have an interesting, diverse fan base, like middle class Latinos, blacks, whites, etc. But there's still the folks that are from La Jolla. You could feel it in your bones, right? So that's what I'm thinking about these guys. And halfway through the game, a guy in a suit shows up. That's with them. I'm like, first of all, who shows up like when it's almost halftime? And why are you in a suit? It's hot. It's LA. We're in the middle of a stadium, right? And you're relatively young. What are you doing, right? And then a little bit later, two other guys in suits show up. To be fair to them, they don't have ties. They have the jacket, they have the dress pants, they have the dress shirt, right? And I'm like, these guys are not fans at all, like of anything, right? They're here for, I don't know why. I don't know if they came for 5 minutes. And I was like, oh no, the older guys in the suits, they've got a box seats. That's what it is, right? And the older guy who's middle-aged says about the younger guy in the suit, he's like, he kept singing, this guy makes me a lot of money. This guy makes me a lot of money. And I was like, I knew it. Okay, La Jolla. They never confirmed it. I'd bet $1,000 sight unseen that they're from La Jolla. Mark, would you take that bet or no?
La Jolla versus the field. Take the field.
Yeah, I would take the field against it. Right, if you're really asking me. But I was thinking about La Jolla and the way you described it. Would you go to a cocktail party at Mitt Romney's house, Cenk?
Oh, what a great question. I love it. Mark's got great questions tonight. Absolutely is my answer. What am I gonna do? Not see his house? What am I not gonna get stories out of a Mitt Romney cocktail party? And there's no way the food isn't good, right? I mean, they're gonna have pigs in a blanket. Mormons eat pigs in a blanket. They're not gonna have they're not gonna have drinks. That's okay. I'm not a drunk. Who cares? So, and
yeah,
the
interactions that I call it a cocktail party. You're right. It's kind of a it's a spritzer party type thing. But yeah, right. If there was would you go to a similar gathering if you knew there was going to be? They do traditionally like a whole 15 minutes of prayer at the beginning, where you have to get on your knees and there's some kind of a little religious ritual. But then after that, it's just a normal night. Would you still go?
Well, you had me until the knees. If they're doing a 15-minute prayer and I don't have to be involved, but we're having everybody's doing incantations, etc., I'm going even more. Okay. Because it's so outside my experience that I want to see it. I want to experience.
I always say the same thing. Yeah, I love a good show. Right.
Yeah. And are they going to bring out snakes? I don't know, right? Probably not. They're Mormons, not Pentecostals, but you never know. Are they going to speak in tongues? I don't know, but I'm here for it. But if I have to participate for 15 minutes, get on my knees and be like, oh yes, of course, our Lord and Savior Brigham Young has brought us great football, and we appreciate it. And then it's getting a little too undercover.
Yeah. So if you had that's where you have to actually be an active part of it, then you probably would be uncomfortable enough to say no. Okay.
Yeah, but it depends, right? So like I've gone to many churches and sitting in the pew listening, and people get up and say amen. If people ask me to get up, I'll get up. That's
sure. I mean, there's a quality of politeness. You could write it off to that, right? Yeah,
of course,
it's not like it's
If I go to a mosque, I don't mind going, getting on my knees, doing the prayer, etc., because it's cultural. And I'm, I grew up Muslim. I've been to mosque like 4 times in my life, but still. I probably doubled it actually on the campaign, because I went and visited a bunch of mosques in the district when I ran for office, and I was like, that's probably more mosques than I've been to my whole life. But I don't mind doing things on a cultural level at all. But if you're gonna ask, like, oh, and by the way, Mark, that leads to another interesting thing. My experience with those kind of prayers and rituals actually wound up becoming part of a nationally discussed lawsuit. Because after I left high school, I happened to go to high school at a public high school that wound up having the most interesting football team of all time, which has led to now dozens of stories on air about it. We're nationally ranked. We had the #1 quarterback in the country. But in this case, we also had a coach, Marcus Borden, who had us pray before each game. And I never thought twice about it. And I would participate in those prayers, even though I wasn't Christian and it was a Christian prayer. And then later he got sued for it. And he was, a very well-renowned coach. And they told him, you got to stop the prayers. It's a public school. You can't make everybody do a Christian prayer. And he's like, no, it's non-denominational. And we, prayed that nobody gets hurt. And my experience was that was actually true. That was the main thing that we prayed for, that no one got hurt. And at the time I was not religious, but I thought that was so harmless. Who cares, right? I thought. But Borden retired. He refused to not pray, and he quit his job. And that, I remember, it was a big national story, and we wound up talking about it on TYT. So, would you guys mind if they were doing a non-denominational "Don't Get Hurt" prayer?
Dave, do you want to take that first? I will respond after. I know my response, by the way. When I say go ahead first, I'm not waiting so I can copy you. I just want to make that clear.
But what, in the Marcus Borden case or in the Mitt Romney? In either case, I don't really care. My answer is I would be polite, like Mark says, and it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, this is the thing, Jake. Dave and I can go together. Maybe we can ride share there or something, because it doesn't bother me. You want me to get my knees while you guys say a prayer? I don't give a damn. I'm great. Here they are, my knees. The carpets at the Romney house, I'm sure, are lovely. And it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? I'm not part of some animal sacrifice. I'm just doing this thing, and I think that makes the story better. I absolutely don't, draw the line anywhere. I'm happy to, if this is the tradition in your home that we do this, fine. I'm happy to be part of it, and I don't walk away, having converted or anything. I was being polite. So,
come to think of it, there actually was a moment where the only moment I've ever walked away from a religious service, because it's rude to walk away from a religious service, and there's no point. I mean, just like, who cares that we don't agree? Be respectful, right? And it's a different experience. It's a different cultural experience, and you should soak that in. The only time I ever walked out was there was a Turkish mosque in Brooklyn, and the imam normally in a Turkish mosque does not speak Turkish. They speak Arabic because that's the language the Quran is in, which is nuts because Turks do not speak Arabic. It's not like, oh, well, it's Spanish, Italian, maybe a little bit. No, we don't understand anything he's saying. He could be speaking Chinese. We have no idea what he's saying. So that you go to a mosque and they're like, Allahu, and then we're all looking around like, are we supposed to pretend we know what he's saying? It's so awkward, right? But in this case, the imam did the Arabic thing, and then he started talking in Turkish. I was like, oh, that was actually the first time in my life as a grown-up that I'd ever heard a Turkish sermon. He started speaking against the Jews. I was like, oh no. Oh, you should have kept it in Arabic. Then I wouldn't know what the hell crazy thing you're saying, right? And so,
if you wanted a sermon against the Jews, you can pretty much go anywhere, right, Dave? I mean, the Jew haters are all over the place. There are sermons going off virtually every few minutes.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Yeah.
But I happen to walk into this one, and so I was like, oh, now that I know what you're saying, that's terrible. And I got up and walked out of the mosque, and everybody was like, I'm like, what's the face? Like I'll give you the face. Why aren't you getting up and leaving? And so anyways, that was the last time I'd gone before the campaign. I walked out of that mosque and never walked into another one. It doesn't, by the way, guys, don't get the wrong impression. There's awesome mosques. They don't say that normally. It just, I happen to run into that one. In fact, when I was doing the campaign, one of the best speeches of my life I ran into also randomly. I go to this mosque in Simi Valley, and I didn't know that a representative of CARE was going to be there. To my recollection, I didn't know that. And one of the top officials at CARE, which is the largest Muslim civil rights group in America, was there, and he gave this phenomenal speech about go thank Black leaders. Okay, there are Muslims who are Black, and there were a couple of Black folks in the mosque, but he was largely talking to people who were ethnically Middle Eastern in that mosque. Okay, and he's ethnically Middle Eastern, and he explained the civil rights movement, and he said they got us the rights and the protections that we enjoy as Muslims today. So go thank a Black leader. And he went through a whole bunch of stories. It was such a powerful speech. And he said, remember, we have to stick together. And I was like, I love this guy. All mosques are redeemed. So there's that too. Mark, I decided it would be.
Well, welcome to Mosque Talk, everybody. If you're just joining us, we're going through our various experiences at mosques. I visited the mosque in Morocco, in Casablanca, Morocco. And it's the largest. Somebody check this. I think it's definitely the largest mosque in Morocco, but I think it's the second largest mosque in the world. Could that be, Cenk? Does that? I turn to you. It's maybe
Look, I'm Turkish, so I'm sure that every single Turk would say, no, we have all the largest mosques. There are no other mosques that are large. We have 12 of the top 12.
It was huge, and they took us through it. I mean, it was really impressive. By the way, notwithstanding the movie Casablanca and everything, that has built the mythology of Casablanca, it's literally the only thing in Casablanca. And this isn't my opinion. I mean, this is what they say. Go to the mosque. And by the way, the beach there is really nice in Casablanca, in Morocco as well. But apart from that, there's no Rick's Cafe, and there is a Rick's Cafe that they put up like an hour ago to capitalize on the movie, but it's not like the Rick's Cafe in the movie Casablanca. So what's in Casablanca is this huge, gorgeous, I mean, stunning in every way, in terms of the mosaic, in terms of the architecture, everything. There's this stunning mosque, and I think it's one of the biggest mosques in the world. I'll say that. But that was my big mosque experience.
Dave, ever been in a mosque?
Well, as a tourist, sure. I don't know if they were active at the time that I was never in a ceremony.
God wasn't actually working in the mosque the day you were there. No divine presence.
No. But I've never been in a mosque that people are actually using as a mosque to pray in.
Yeah. How many church services have you gone to, Dave?
Other than weddings, none, I think. None, probably.
Wow. How about you, Mark?
This week? 3, I guess.
Well, first of all, the answer is more than Trump, but go ahead.
I've been to tons. Yeah. I mean, definitely, as Dave says, weddings, funerals, and then I went to midnight mass when I was a kid. I would do the just because it seemed like a really cool thing. Of National Cathedral, I grew up in Washington, D.C., so everything goes down at National Cathedral, which is like, again, the theater of it is so spectacular. It's an immense structure with the sound of the choir reverberating around this, this marble and this. I mean, it just, let's face it, a lot of church and synagogue is a show, and so the more there's that kind of thing, the better. When I came to Los Angeles, they sent me out around the holidays to I'm trying to remember the name of it. I forget, not important, but it's with all the choir and and the singing and the praise the Lord stuff. Yes, thank you. And it was spectacular. I mean, absolutely spectacular. On the way in, I remember somebody was coming out and they said, "Praise the Lord, brother, praise the Lord." And I'm thinking, yeah, praise the Lord. I mean, I was polite. I mean, I shook hands and everything, and I nodded. But on the way out, I was so infected with that, the choir and all that stuff, that I was saying, praise me. I was saying, praise the Lord. It was, it's spectacular if it's a good show. You know what I mean? And that's how they sell whatever their message is and you hope it's a decent message, like your coach, like nobody get hurt. It's a message of tolerance, or it's a message of peace, or whatever it might be. There are good messages that can come across in these environments, and they wrap them hopefully in the theater of the church experience. So I've been a bunch of times.
No, Martin, you're right. In the old days, church was the movies. There were no movies, there was no TV, and even before that, no radio. I mean, they got nothing to go on. So they would go to church and be like, "Oh, we got a talk show host." That's why the preachers do what they do with the whole shebang and the show, and the Pentecostals have the snakes. I mean, they're putting on a show, and when you have a powerful speaker, it's hard not to get wrapped up in it. I remember when I was a Republican in college, and I went to a Jesse Jackson speech, and I came out of there a liberal. Okay, so not exactly at that moment, but kind of, right? And that's why, hey, look, try different things. You never know, right? But I remember thinking, man, he made a lot of good points. And I was surprised by how many good points he made. And he was such a great orator too, that it was hard not to appreciate what he was saying. And so when he talked about racism, for example, he said, my dad went and fought in World War II, and in one battle, they'd captured a whole bunch of Nazis, and then they were transporting the Nazis, and the Americans were at the front of the train, then the Nazis, and then they made my dad and the black troops sit in the back behind the Nazis. And I was like, holy cow. Man, like that story resonated with me and stayed with me, bro, forever. Like, right. That's how brutal we were, where we treated our own soldiers who were risking their lives for love of country worse than we treated the Nazis. And that's what a good speaker can do. They can, in a sense, get inside your head, but in a good way, right?
Yeah, that's so true. And I know we got to wrap up, but last word on it I would say is also it's a feeling you're locking into. So it's either the word and the story that you just described. Sometimes in these situations, it's just this place that makes you feel better, and as a result, you feel bonded to it. I think that's a lot of what's going on in people who find themselves drawn to going to church or churchy type places. So anyway, we could talk about it more another time.
All right, we do have to wrap, but we have a whole nother episode for you guys. And I'm gonna ask a subject matter expert here. I didn't know Mark was gonna be on, but I had planned to ask, when is the right time to wear baseball caps? So, boy, do we have the expert. All right, another fun topics. Become a member to get the second episode and all the episodes, tyt.com/join, or if you're watching on YouTube, hit the join button below. All right, we'll see you there.